Hallo allemaal, mijn naam is Dennis. Dit is echt een hele gave aflevering. Ik heb allemaal videomateriaal verzameld van crypto-critici en crypto-haters, hoe ze zich de afgelopen jaren op beeld hebben geuit over deze technologie. Voor degenen die al een tijdje in crypto zitten, is dit pure entertainment, want sommige beelden zijn best wel lachwekkend en kunnen ook zelfs als belachelijk worden bestempeld. Een aantal van deze uitingen komen voort uit onwetendheid, zeker de beelden van meer dan 5 jaar terug. Er zijn ook critici die zijn daardoor bijgedraaid, zoals Kevin O'Leary. Respect dat hij zich openlijk uit dat hij het fout heeft gehad of bepaalde keuzes moest maken in het verleden en nu volledig achter crypto staat. Dus respect voor Kevin O'Leary. Jordan Belfort is ook zo'n persoonlijkheid. Maar er zijn nu critici die hebben het over bepaalde onderwerpen die nu een thema zijn. En daar moeten wij naar luisteren, want dan heerst dat gevoel daarbuiten. Het is jammer dat er een aantal critici tussen zitten waarvan je voelt dat ze belangen ergens anders hebben en dat ze niet willen dat crypto slaagt. Vind ik ontzettend spijtig. Waarschijnlijk zitten ze in een business unit die echt verstoord kan worden door het succes van crypto en dan doen ze er alles aan om het te laten falen. Helaas, het is zoals het is, maar bij mij valt dat onder het hoofdstuk misleiding. Jullie moeten zelf maar de conclusie trekken wie dat zijn. Ik ga dat niet zeggen, maar ik heb daar zo mijn eigen gevoelens over. De criticus waar ik het meeste respect voor heb is Schiff. Die zit enorm in het goud en is al jaren tegen crypto. Maar hoe die het uitlegt, dat is ontzettend goed en daar kunnen wij heel veel van leren. Dus Schiff, ik heb respect voor je. Natuurlijk is het jammer dat je niet in de crypto zit, maar je kunt het heel mooi vertellen. Dus ik heb Schiff's beeldmateriaal ietsje langer gemaakt, want hij vertelt het gewoon ontzettend goed. De meest belachelijke criticus, en die kan ik Bitcoin-hater noemen, is Nouriel Roubini. Die vertelt zo'n belachelijk verhaal dat de panelleden zelfs moeten lachen. En hij heeft het zelf niet eens door. Moeten jullie maar kijken. Hij noemt zelfs Michael Saylor een drugsverslaafde. En als je zo bezig bent, ja, dat is echt gewoon niet goed om echt direct op de persoon te spelen en niet op de technologie. Hou die man in de gaten. Ik weet niet waar al die agressie vandaan komt. Maar als je niet normaal een verhaal kan brengen, ja, dan vind ik dat je zelfs niet eens op beeld moet verschijnen. Het is een hele rare persoonlijkheid, maar dat maakt de entertainment extra leuk. Ik ga het materiaal starten. Nogmaals, leer ervan en denk na over de reactie die jullie zouden geven als iemand met eenzelfde statement komt. Want dat heerst gewoon daarbuiten. En voor de rest is dit pure entertainment. En lach niet als men zegt Bitcoin gaat naar zero. Denk ook na wat de koers nu is in vergelijking met die tijd en hoe dat werd gematcht. En dat is dan best wel lachwekkend. Ik wens jullie veel kijkplezier en ik zie jullie in de volgende aflevering.
Bitcoin creators
Doei.
credit, at least they know enough not to trust fiat money that's controlled by our government, but they're trying to reinvent the wheel and they've come up with a flat tire. We already have a perfect real form of money and it's called gold. Money has to have 4 elements. It has to be very rare, indestructible, divisible without losing its purchasing power, and cannot be increased by fiat. And Bitcoins fail on the first 2. They are not rare, and they are very much destructible. And they are very much destructible. And they are very much destructible.
Bitcoin hit a new high today.
I could care less what Bitcoin trades for, how it trades, why it trades, who trades it. If you're stupid enough to buy it, you'll pay the price for it one day. I've also told people that it can trade at $100,000 before it trades to zero. So tulip bulbs traded for $75,000 once, something like that. The only value of a Bitcoin is what the other guy will pay for it. And I think, honestly, I think there's a good chance that Bitcoin, a lot of the buyers out there are up there jazzing it up every day so that maybe you'll buy it too and take them out. And the other thing I've always made of Bitcoin, governments, and this is not a technological statement, governments are going to crush it one day. Governments like to know where the money is, who has it, and what you're doing with it. And in case you haven't noticed. Okay? So there is a use case for Bitcoin. If you live in Venezuela, North Korea, or if you're a criminal, great product. I mean that. My daughter sent me an email saying, Dad, I own 2 Bitcoins. My formerly smart daughter. My formerly smart daughter. My formerly smart daughter.
This idea of scarcity with Bitcoin is completely false, because what happens when you have something like cryptocurrencies, they all trade in one giant basket. So while there might be only 21 million Bitcoin, every time they create a new cryptocurrency, there's more cryptocurrency on the market. There's no limit to the amount of cryptocurrency. It's getting bigger every single day. There is no scarcity. There's no value. It's a bubble. And I promise you, and you're right, it could go to 50,000. It could go to 100,000. But I'm certain that at the end of the day, it will end up close to zero. That's the bottom line. This is what, listen, I broke some laws. And I'm going to tell you this. This is exactly what is going on right now in Bitcoin, in this cryptocurrencies. People are essentially taking these basically worthless instruments and pumping them up with a story that it's the next great thing. This is never going to be a mainstream currency. It's not going to be. There's too many problems with Bitcoin. Well, also, one day there will be, by the way, there will be a blockchain currency. It'll be, I'm sure, sponsored by the governments and be approved. The government. You think the U.S. government is going to allow there to be some just freedom of currency out there that could, massive money laundering,
I don't
lose
disagree.
all the control?
Jordan,
it won't happen.
And when the real founder of Bitcoin comes out, it is my humble opinion, and there's nothing humble about me, Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
One day.
And a microsecond, whoop, like that.
Bitcoin is not an effective medium of exchange by and large. And if I have a Bitcoin, I want to go buy things. It's not easy to buy things with the Bitcoin. And in terms of a storehold of wealth, more reflects, like gold, more reflects the opposite of what money is doing, right? And so you look at it, it's a storehold of wealth. Bitcoin is a speculative, it's a speculative bubble. It is, to me, a vehicle for speculation that's attracting people in, and it has all the classic ingredients of a bubble. People leveraging themselves up, and it doesn't have that same intrinsic value. So I don't see the effectiveness of Bitcoin.
Skeptical of Bitcoin. I know what the price action is. It's going up by 10% a day at this point. Look, Bitcoin could go to 20,000. It could go to 30,000. It's on its way to zero, somewhere between 0 and 200. It's a utility token for criminals, terrorists, money launderers, tax evaders. They'll always find some use for it. So it may not go all the way to zero. It's clearly a bubble. It looks like the second biggest bubble in history after Tulip Mania, although at the rate it's going, it'll pass Tulip Mania, in a matter of days. Bigger than the South Sea bubble, bigger than the Mississippi bubble, the New York, the Dow Jones in 1929, Nikkei in 1989. Name your bubble, it's bigger than all of them. So I don't own any. I don't recommend it to clients.
Jesus Christ. That's for blasphemy.
Bitcoin is worthless artificial gold, which, if it succeeded, would facilitate a lot of illicit activity. Now, that is not something I think the world needs. And the fact that it's clever computer science doesn't mean that it should be widely used and that respectable people should encourage other people to speculate in it. Bitcoin reminds me of Oscar Wilde's definition of fox hunting, the pursuit of the uneatable by the unspeakable.
Well, it sounds better than what I used before.
We asked earlier, Charlie, Andrew brought it up with Warren, but...
I think it's a scumball activity. Does that better serve you better?
Thank you. Yeah.
Bitcoin and ICOs, I agree completely. It's one of the crazier speculative things where it's not, as an asset class, you're not producing anything. And so you shouldn't expect it to go up. It's kind of a pure greater fool theory type investment. So, I agree. I would short it if there was an easy way to do it.
About 5 years ago, we asked Charlie Munger, we were sitting right there, what he thought of Bitcoin, and he said rat poison. Yeah. Back then it was about $100+ per Bitcoin. Today it's 9,000. Is it still rat poison?
Well, probably rat poison squared. Probably rat poison squared. Probably rat poison squared.
There's no need for cryptocurrencies
They're a solution in search of a problem from my perspective. What's unfortunate is the amount of hype and the number of early investors who've been caught up in this hype. I wish the 27-year-old wasn't buying Bitcoin. I wish they were investing in the companies that define the future of our country and pushing capital in a way that will create jobs, create innovation, and will grow our economy.
Bitcoin is going to zero. Zero. When it comes out, zero.
Back in April, the former CEO of PayPal came out swinging against the crypto universe, calling Bitcoin, quote unquote, the greatest scam in history, adding that it's a pump and dump scheme like anything the world has ever seen. You might remember he appeared on our show to discuss that. Now he's back with an even bolder call, saying Bitcoin is headed straight to zero.
The cult of Bitcoin make many claims that it's instant, free, scalable, efficient, secure, globally accepted, and useful. It is none of those things. And I see absolutely no reason why Bitcoin is useful. I mean, listen, its volatility alone makes it useless as a payment mechanism and ridiculous as a store of value. Useless as a payment mechanism and ridiculous as a store of value. There has to be something underpinning it.
Yeah, but
Bitcoin makes no revenue, no profitability. I mean, there's, why in the world should be of something of value?
People were saying this about Bezos and Amazon and this dream that he dreamt up about e-commerce. I mean,
I'm not saying there aren't some fabulous visions in the world that should be funded, will be hugely valuable, and have staying power and legs. But you can point to use cases and why they are competitively superior to the alternative. In Bitcoin's case, I can't come up with a single one, with the exception of criminal activity.
Cryptocurrencies are a crock. What social benefit do they provide? Well, they allow a few dozen men in my district to sit in their pajamas on the couch all day and tell their wives they're going to be millionaires. They help terrorists and criminals move money around the world. They help tax evaders. They help startup companies commit fraud, take the money, and 1% of the time they actually create a useful business. But then again, I dare say that some tiny percent of all larceny and crime helps finance something that turns out to be useful. It hurts the U.S. government in two ways. Our ability to have the dollar be the chief means of international finance is what has underpinned our ability to impose sanctions and stop tax cheating. And furthermore, when we have people take risk, we don't encourage gambling. We encourage investment in the real economy. But when you buy a Bitcoin, are you financing a new factory? No. You're gambling on its value for no social benefit.
Bitcoin is close to becoming worthless. The article was written by Atulya Sharin, finance professor at Santa Clara University, who joins us now.
Stuart, there is actually a fundamental reason for that and a technical reason for it. Fundamentally, Bitcoin has not lived up to its hype. Primarily, if you look at all the activity around Bitcoin, it's mostly around trading. It doesn't seem to have too many use cases.
Okay.
The ultimate promise of it helping it bank the unbanked has certainly, it has not lived up to it.
And what Bitcoin did very successfully is it managed to replicate a lot of those properties that gold had that made it so successful as money. In fact, they created Bitcoin to resemble gold, right? If you look at a picture of Bitcoin, not that it actually exists, but the way they try to, present it on a piece of paper, it's always the color of gold. It looks like a gold coin with a B in the middle of it. How do you create Bitcoins? Well, you mine them. I mean, there's no picks, there's no real mining, but they just called it mining because they wanted to make it sound like you were creating digital gold, right? But the reason that I have referred to it as being fool's gold is because Bitcoin is replicating all of the properties of gold except the most important one, and that's the metal itself, the element, the rare, scarce element. Bitcoin is, it's divisible, it's portable, it's all these things, but apart from the fact that it can be utilized in transaction, it's nothing. It has no real value into itself as a commodity. There's no way to relate the price of Bitcoin to the price of anything else. There is this supposed 21 million unit scarcity, which is a self-imposed scarcity. The only reason it's scarce is because they created it to be scarce, except it's not scarce because Bitcoin can be forked off as many times as you want. There's Bitcoin Cash, there's Bitcoin Gold, whatever. Meanwhile, there's another 1,500 or so cryptocurrencies that can do everything Bitcoin can do. Some of them can do it better, faster, cheaper. There's no limit to the number of other digital currencies that can be created. There's only one gold. There'll never be another gold. Yeah, there are other metals on the periodic table, but they're not gold. They're not exactly the same as gold, but you can make as many cryptocurrencies that are exactly the same as Bitcoin. They just have a different name. But the biggest problem with Bitcoin and why it can never be used as money is because one of the most important functions of money is that it has to be a reliable store of value, not just a medium of exchange. Bitcoin can do that, although it's inefficient, you know, and I think at its peak when Bitcoin prices got up to 20,000, it was something like, I don't know, 50, 60 bucks just to spend one. Idea to think that governments can't ban Bitcoin if they don't want to? You don't think governments can criminalize the use of Bitcoin? You don't think they can tell the banks that they regulate, you can't do business with anybody who's using Bitcoin? You can't exchange Bitcoin for any fiat currencies? They could put you in jail. They can make the penalty 10 years, 20 years in jail for getting caught with a Bitcoin. I mean, it's very easy for the government to criminalize it if they want to do it. I mean, I think they have more of a chance of criminalizing that than they would of owning gold. The future of money is gold. And if gold is going to be digitized, if we're going to have a gold-backed cryptocurrency backed by real money, just like the initial banknotes used to be backed by real money, then that can succeed. And that is the only type of cryptocurrency that can succeed. But all of the cryptocurrencies that exist today, whatever 1,500 of them that are backed by nothing, are no better than the national cryptocurrencies that they're hoping to replace.
I believe Bitcoin is the king and is going to stay the king for a very long time.
So I taught a class at Harvard 18 months ago that young people in that class challenged me. I put $100 into something called Coinbase, which is a wallet thing. And
you buy Bitcoin?
I bought them all. I bought all the crypto crap. I put $100 in. It's now worth 30. That's a 70% loss on my crypto crap. Now, I bought them all. I think that really sucks. And I think people should understand today that the hot digital is Bitcoin. Tomorrow it could be whatever, right? Look, I love your optimistic view of it. You haven't changed my mind at all. It's still garbage, and I'm not going to take real money and put it into this thing. It's never going to happen. I mean, imagine real money, taking real dollars that I'm making in cash 2.1% on and putting it into crypto crap.
Agree to disagree.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're crypto crap garbage. Garbage is better than garbage.
Right. He keeps saying accoutrement. He's got this French
the accoutrement, he's got the garbage.
I think a little colorful language is necessary when discussing Bitcoin. There's no question about it.
Anthony, thank you.
Well, to me, Bitcoin is almost as bad. It's not having any desirable social purpose. We've got debit cards. It isn't like we don't have a payment system. We've got WeChat in China, incredibly efficient payment system. China doesn't need Bitcoin. And if you have a WeChat, why would you do it in a medium where the value changes enormously? Nobody in his right mind would want a payment system where the very thing you were using went up and down by 20% in a day. No, I regard the thing as a combination of dementia and immorality. And I think the people that are pushing it are a disgrace.
Is er dus een beursgang bij van Coinbase. Is dat goed nieuws?
Nou, voor die mensen wel, die worden rijk. Maar verder lijkt het me vooral maatschappelijke verspilling. Sowieso, crypto is elke minuut of euro die we eraan besteden, is verspilde tijd. Komt niet ten goede aan, welk maatschappelijk doel dan ook.
Een heleboel mensen doen het toch, hoor.
Ja, die worden er rijk van, gefeliciteerd. Maar het is allemaal papieren winst. Het is een piramidespel. Dus uiteindelijk gaat het natuurlijk helemaal verkeerd aflopen. Maar dat kan nog 20 jaar duren, hoor. Dus dat zijn de crypto's zelf. En dan een handelsplatform wat daar ook nog eens extra tijd en moeite aan besteedt, lijkt me helemaal onnodig. Maar goed, ik kijk daarnaar zo. En je kan er anders naar kijken.
Zeg dat doen ook heel veel mensen.
Do you have
dabble in Bitcoin or cryptos?
I don't. I like the currency of the United States. I think it's, I think the others are potentially a disaster waiting to happen. I don't know. I feel that it hurts the United States currency. I think we should strengthen, we should be invested in our currency, not in, they may be fake. Who knows what they are? But they certainly are currencies. They certainly are something that people don't know very much about. No, I have not been, I have not been a big fan.
So first and foremost, I wish all this passion and energy that went into crypto was directed towards making the United States stronger. I mean, let's face it, it's a jihadist call that we don't believe in the dollar. I mean, what a crazy concept this is, that we as a country embrace so many bright, young, talented people to come up with a replacement for our reserve currency, which helps to make our standard of living a reality and accrues incredible benefits back to our country. Let's replace the dollars, the global reserve currency, with Bitcoin. That's a brilliant idea. By the way, let's go ahead and build several hundred new power plants that produce an unbelievable amount of carbon to make that dream a reality. I think I maybe just told you how I feel about crypto.
No, could you please be a little more explicit?
So I will have so much hate mail in my inbox and on my Twitter account in about 30 minutes, I can't count it.
Bitcoin and crypto is not a means of payment, it's not a currency, it's not a unit of account, it's not a scalable means of payment, it's not a single numeraire. Now people say it's an asset. But think of it, what are assets? Assets like stocks, bonds, and real estate give you income or give you some use, like a real estate. And therefore they have a reason, they have a capital gain. Gold doesn't give you income, but has other uses, industrial, utility, in jewelry, and therefore it has also some value, and it used to be used as a means of payment. In the case of Bitcoin, it doesn't have any income, it doesn't have any use, it doesn't have any utility. So what's the value of it based on what? Based on no intrinsic value and purely a speculative bubble. That's why I argue that Bitcoin, like all the other shit coins, are worth zero. Actually negative given the hogging of energy and environmental cost. If there was a carbon tax on crypto, the value of these assets will be negative. So what's the fundamental value? What's the use? What's the utility that justifies the capital gain? None. It's a speculative bubble that is based on pump and dump, spoofing, wash trading, and manipulation by tether. There's a total scam. So for institutional investors saying we're going to invest into crypto doesn't make any sense. You have a failing company that had a flat stock market like MicroStrategy for a decade, and its head was a coke addict, decided then to bet the entire house on Bitcoin. That's irresponsible behavior. There's not going to be any corporate head who's going to put his cash, as you pointed out clearly, into something that is so volatile. You put your cash in something that is stable. And for somebody like Elon Musk, who knows that there's a market impact to manipulate, first take an individual position into Bitcoin, pump the price up, and then say that Tesla has invested and Tesla doesn't make money yet, it's also irresponsible and it's market manipulation. The SEC should be looking to people that have a market impact, that manipulate the price of assets. That's also criminal behavior. Criminal behavior.
Okay.
The SEC should be looking into that. Come on, it's a totally criminal enterprise. Tether is a criminal enterprise, and a bunch of whales and insiders are manipulating the price of Bitcoin and other shitcoins day in, day out. That's a fact.
I personally think that Bitcoin is worthless, but I don't want to be a spokesman. I don't care. It makes no difference to me. I don't think you should smoke cigarettes either.
I do. I think he's had enough of this stuff. Oh, look at this tweet, though, we found, and really may perhaps explain why he has been maybe is just sick of getting questions on crypto. He's been talking about this since 2014. Clearly, Jamie Dimon is not a believer in Bitcoin. Now, look at the numbers, and I have to give a shout out to our friends at Decrypt for this one. Since Dimon started talking publicly about Bitcoin in January 2014, when it was trading at $808, Bitcoin prices are up 7.227%.
En die bitcoins, hè?
Ja,
Bitcoin, man.
bitcoins, ja.
De bitcoins.
Er komt een dag dat de bitcoins woem weg zijn. Ja.